Okay, so welcome back. Now we're going to talk about the flour weight is king, and this will become more apparent why the flour is the king when we get a little bit further into this. So to begin, I want you to remember a recipe formula first, and then I'll show you the recipe. So again, the formula is different than a recipe, and the reason or the difference between a formula versus a recipe is a formula will allow you to scale your recipe up or down irregardless of how many people or how many pizzas you want to make. So here's the formula. Flour is at 100%, and I'll explain on the next slide what I mean by that. And then we're going to talk about water is 70%. Olive oil is 2%. Sugar, yeast, and salt also 2%. So again, all of those make up the recipe formula, and now we're going to go into the explanation about all of this and what it means. So when we say 100% flour, what we mean is essentially these two things. Number one, how much flour that you have on hand in the cupboard, and how much does it weigh? Or how much flour weight you wish to start with. So the two scenarios that play out, you want to make a pizza, you don't know how much flour you have, that's okay, it doesn't matter. If you just take whatever is left in the bag, put it on a scale, and then add the rest of the ingredients based on the recipe formula, you will still get the same perfect consistency in your pizza dough. And basically the way that this the way that this is explained is that whatever that flour weight is, that is the 100%, and then you use that number to calculate everything else against it. I know that sounds a little bit confusing, so let's look at how this actually plays itself out. So when we say, for example, water at 70%, what we mean is we've got 300 grams of flour, which, by the way, this is the exact recipe for a 14-inch crust pizza. And if we take that 300 gram number and we multiply it times 70% to get a number, which is 70% of the weight of the flour, we'll take the number 300, because that's the flour weight, the 100%, and we'll multiply that by 70% on a calculator and press equals. That will give us a number of 210. That is the amount of grams of water that you need to use. So 300 grams of flour, 70% of 300 is 210. And it's real simple. You just pull up a calculator, either on your phone or if you have a regular calculator, and you do 300, and then you use the multiplication symbol, and then you do 70, hit the percent, and then hit equals. It's 210. So it's as simple as that. Now, not to confuse matters worse, but if you're really, really good at math, I want you to just note this simple thing here. If you do 3 times 7, it is 21, right? So just add the 0. So just think about it that way. If you had 600 grams of flour, 70% of that, 6 times 7 is 42, add the 0, 420. So it's a really quick, not Vedic math, but nonetheless, it's kind of a quick shortcut in how to do this stuff in your head without a calculator. Okay, so if we're moving on here, sorry, we just explained that. The yeast, the sugar, the olive oil, and the salt weight, all of that is 2%. It's the same calculation. So 300 grams of flour, we just need what is 2% of 300. It's the same calculation. 300 times 2% is 6. By the way, guys, that shortcut that I mentioned earlier, 3 times 2, 6. So you can kind of do a lot of this stuff in your head. And this is why recipe formulas are so popular in the professional baking industry, because you can pretty much do a lot of this stuff on the fly in your head with really, really simple math. But look, if you can't do it in your head, not a problem. Grab the calculator. Again, a real simple operation. 300, that's your flour weight. And just, again, multiply it by 2% and then hit equals. And you get 6. So either do it in the head or do it with the calculator. It doesn't matter. It's just as long as you get the numbers and the numbers are correct, you'll have a perfect pizza crust every time. So the Sodeno's method is really not the Sodeno's method. It's what they call in the industry, in the professionals baking industry, the baker's percentage. So congratulations, you actually just learned what's called the baker's percentage. We'll see you in the next video.